Last example I want to go over with chapter 11, lesson 3 in your volume 2 Go Math books. This is on the bottom of page 638. And now instead of dealing with a rectangle, we're dealing with a square. All right, this square has a perimeter of 20 inches. What is the length of each side of the square? All right, so now we're not even given a side of what any of the lengths are. All right, in the rectangle right here, we at least had, one side, and we knew that the opposite was going to be 5, and then divide by 2. And right here, we were given all the sides except for one, and we just subtracted it out. But how in the world are we supposed to find the perimeter of a square if we're not even given what one of the lengths of the squares is going to be? Well, if we know anything about squares, all right, is that all four sides are equal. And that ends up being very important to help us solve this problem. All right, so how are we supposed to find this? Well, what I do know, and I'll go ahead and use squares to indicate the square. So we have 4 numbers that we're going to be adding up. And all 4 of these numbers have to be the same. And when we add all 4 of these numbers up, and they are the same, we're going to get a perimeter of 20 inches. So I need to think of a number that if I add that number, that same number, 4 times, it ends up giving me 20. All right? Well, we can guess and check and say, oh, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, that's 4. Nope, we're not close. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, that gives us 8. Oh, we're getting a little bit closer. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 gives me, 8, 3 and 3, 6, gives me 12. I'm getting a little bit closer, but I'm starting to get confused now with all these numbers. All right. Or I know that if I can take whatever value this is, this value of s, right, which by the way is a variable that I don't like to use, but we'll use it in this example. All right, we know that whatever s is, all right, and if we were to go ahead and say, oh, we're going to put an s right here, and right here, and right here, and here. And you're about to find out here in just a second why S's can be a little bit confusing. All right, but how do I know this? Well, this is repeated addition, all right, and repeated addition is multiplication. All right, so I have this S. I don't know what it is. All right, whatever this S is, and I'm multiplying it by 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so repeated addition is multiplication. All right, so what number times 4 gives me 20? Or in other words, 20 divided by 4 gives me what? And of course, that value is 5. So S is equal to 5. And now you can see why S is not always a good variable to use. But we'll go ahead and use it in this example here. All right, so a square is pretty easy. If I were to give you another square here and say, all right, I've given you a square and I need to know what one of the sides is equal to here. So we'll go ahead and use variable L. All right, and I tell you right up front that the perimeter is equal to 32. All right. All you need to do with any kind of a square is just say, oh, well, I know the perimeter is 32, and I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 4, because this value of L is the same as this, and this, and this. So 32 divided by 4 gives me 8. All right, so each of these lengths are 8. Well, how do you know? Well, we can go ahead and add them up. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. All right, and we are going to see, does that equal 32? I think I'm confident it is. 8 and 8 right here is 16. And this 8 and 8 right here is also 16. When I add those up, I get 32, which, yeah, right there, is the same thing. So in this example right here, the length, well, let me get my L looking a little bit better there. The length of one side is equal to 8, and then whatever your unit would be.